NASA's next four-person mission to the International Space Station is now set to blast into the sky on Monday. The launch of Crew-6 was originally scheduled from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida for Sunday, but NASA and SpaceX decided to push the liftoff back by 24 hours to make time for additional checks and balances. A Falcon 9 rocket performed a static fire for SpaceX on Friday, February 24, with its Crew Dragon Endeavour capsule on top. The dress rehearsal was one of the last milestones before SpaceX launches 4 astronauts on the Crew-6 mission to the International Space Station on Monday, February 27. Liftoff is scheduled for 1:45 a.m. EST. SpaceX's Crew-6 mission will launch NASA astronauts Stephen Bowen and Warren Hoburg to the International Space Station alongside Russian cosmonaut Andrey Fedyaev of Roscosmos and United Arab Emirates astronaut Sultan Al-Neyadi. Crew-6 will be historic as astronaut Sultan Al-Neyadi from the UAE will become the first person from an Arab nation to visit the ISS for a long-term stay. Notably, it was Hazza Al-Mansoori who became the first Arab astronaut to visit space in 2019, but he only spent 8 days in orbit. The Crew Dragon used for this mission is Endeavour, making its 4th flight after SpaceX's Demo 2 crew test flight in 2020, Crew 2 flight in 2021 and the private Axiom Mission 1 in 2022. Crew-6 will be SpaceX's 7th crewed mission for NASA, including the Demo 2 demonstration flight, under the agency's Commercial Crew Program, and the 9th time it sent humans to space. 4 SpaceX Crew-6 astronauts stand in a row during their walkout on February 24, 2023 ahead of a dress rehearsal test with their Falcon 9 rocket. Behind them are support personnel in the entranceway to a support building at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Meanwhile, Roscosmos launched an empty Soyuz MS-23 capsule successfully on Thursday, February 23, to replace the damaged Soyuz MS-22 spacecraft that suffered a coolant leak in December. MS-23 should dock with the space station on Saturday, providing a ride home for NASA astronaut Frank Rubio and cosmonauts Sergei Prokopyev and Dmitry Petlin. Their nominal return home has been postponed 6 months to September to make room for another crew to relieve them. According to researchers, China is planning to construct a massive satellite network code-named as GW to offer internet services to users around the world, thus dethroning Starlink. China could be planning to wage a space war against billionaire Elon Musk's Starlink satellite network and break its hegemony. A team led by Associate Professor Xu Can with the People's Liberation Army's (PLA) Space Engineering University in Beijing has said that China's constellation will consist of 12,992 satellites that will be under the ownership of the newly established China Satellite Network Group Company, South China Morning Post reported. The constellation will be set up rather quickly, even before the completion of Starlink, the researchers said in a paper published in the Chinese journal Command Control and Simulation on February 15. This would ensure that our country has a place in low orbit and prevent the Starlink constellation from excessively preempting low orbit resources, they wrote. While it is unclear when the Chinese satellites will be launched, it is certain that they would rival SpaceX's plans of having 12,000 satellites orbiting the Earth by 2027. China's satellites are likely to be deployed in orbits where the Starlink constellation has not yet reached, according to researchers, who added that this would gain opportunities and advantages at other orbital altitudes, and even suppress Starlink. Furthermore, the satellites might possess features that would help them perform close-range, long-term surveillance of Starlink satellites. However, 2 major communication satellite networks in the orbit might attack one another, according to a study by the China National Space Administration. The Starlink satellites may use their orbital maneuverability to actively hit and destroy nearby targets in space, the researchers said.